I'd like to
Good evening.
call to order the regular November 28th, 2022 meeting of the Birmingham City Commission. Would you all join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now, Ms. Bingham, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Long,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McLean,
Here.
Commissioner Valor,
Here.
Commissioner Boudreaux,
Here.
Commissioner Haig is absent, Commissioner Host,
Here.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Here. Thank you. We move to proclamations, congratulatory resolutions, awards, appointments, resignations, and confirmations, administration of oath, and introduction of guests and announcements. Our first announcement this evening is that the city recommends members of the public wear a mask if they have been exposed to COVID-19 or they have a respiratory illness. City staff, city commission, and all board and committee members must wear a mask if they've been exposed to COVID-19 or they actively have a respiratory illness. The city continues to provide KN95 respirators and triple layered masks for all attendees, and you can find them in the front or the back of the room. We also have an announcement about the annual winter market. We invite you to experience the magic of the holidays at the annual Birmingham Winter Market, featuring displays from local artists, vendors, European cuisine, thousands of holiday lights, ice sculptures, live entertainment, and more. Warming stations, visits with Santas, and a Kinderhouse children's activity area are sure to please visitors of all ages. You're invited to join us on opening night this Friday, December 2nd at 6 p.m. for the annual Birmingham Holiday Tree Lighting Celebration featuring Santa, live caroling, and the lighting of the holiday tree with over 40,000 LED lights in downtown Birmingham in Shane Park. We now move to appointments. We have appointments for the Board of Review. We have 2 open positions for regular members to serve a 3-year term expiring December 31, 2025, and an opening for an alternate member to serve a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2025. And we have 2 current regular members who are applying for reappointment. The first one is Jill Stress, and I believe she's going to be available on Zoom. She is.
I see her.
Yep, I'm online.
Good evening. Would you like to just repeat your name and address and let us know why you're interested in continuing to serve?
Yep, my name is Jill Stress. I live at 784 Westchester Way. I have been I started working with the board in 2017 as an alternate, and then most recently was appointed to a board role. Love working with the assessor and the current board members of the committee. You know, I lead HR for a public company that's headquartered in Bloomfield Hills. My attendance is stellar on, you know, in the March timeframe when we are required to be throughout the entire week. And, you know, I've been at all of the required trainings and just would like to continue serving in this capacity if you will allow me to.
Thank you. Do any members of the commission have questions for Ms. Stress? No. All right. Thank you. Our next interview is with Kathleen Devereaux.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Devereaux. It's really strange being here after only seeing it on TV for the last 3 years. I live at 1019 Ribbon Oak, and I've served on the board for almost 7 years now, and I've really enjoyed doing it. I've learned so much about residential real estate in this town, and I've learned so much from my colleagues on the board. So I ask that you reappoint me for another term. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Devereaux? All right. Thank you very much. Do we have some nominations, Commissioner Host?
I would just love to nominate Kathleen Devereaux.
All right. And Commissioner Boutros.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Jill Struss.
All right. And no further candidates, so no further nominations. In the order in which they were nominated, all in favor of appointing Kathleen Devereaux as a regular member for a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2025.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All in favor of appointing Jill Struss for as a regular member for a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2025.
Aye.
Any opposed? So you are both appointed. Congratulations. We ask that you remain in the room till we complete the rest of the appointments this evening, and then the clerk will swear you in. And Ms. Stress, you can make alternate arrangements with Ms. Bingham. We also would like to point out that there is still an opening for an alternate member for the Board of Review, should anyone in our audience be interested in applying. We now move to the appointment of an alternate hearing officer to serve the remainder of a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2024. And we have one very well-known applicant, Ms. Racqueline Hoff.
Hello, I'm Racqueline Hoff, 941 Arden Lane. And after 20 years on the city commission and serving on many of the boards that you're appointing people to, I've been on the Board of Review and advisory parking and several others, I feel that I'm very familiar with the city codes, the ordinances, and I want to continue to be involved with the city. I looked at where the openings were and what the options were, and I think that my background and skills would apply to the hearing officer. That position is filled, and so I am applying for the alternate hearing officer. I do a lot of mediations, and so I'm very familiar with resolving disputes, and I think that this is a position that I enjoy doing.
Any questions for Ms. Hoff? All right. Do we have a?
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem McLean.
I'd like to nominate Racqueline Hoff as the alternate hearing officer to serve the remainder of the 3-year term to expire June 30th of '24.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Congratulations.
Thank
Welcome back to the fold. All right, we now move to appointment of the Birmingham Shopping District Board. We would need a motion to concur with the city manager's appointment of Beth Hussey to the Birmingham Shopping District Board to serve the remainder of a 4-year term expiring November 16, 2026. And Ms., you are welcome to come up and speak.
Oh, do I not need to?
Since it's
I'm
concur,
happy to.
I'm sure that the city manager would like you to reaffirm the wisdom of his choice.
Sure, of course. So I'm Beth Hussey. I'm the co-owner of Hazel's located at 34977 Woodward Avenue. I also am the founder of the Great Decorate, which is a great event that takes place in Birmingham. And I've served on the events committee for about 3 years, and I love this city, and I'm happy to just do my part to continue to make it great.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone? Would you like to make the motion?
So moved
So moved.
to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor of concurring with the city manager's appointment of Beth Hussey for the remainder of the 4-year term expiring November 16th, 2026? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. And now Ms. Bingham will administer the oath.
You can stand and raise your right hand. After I give the oath, you'll just come on over and you'll sign in the box here, and I have some paperwork for you. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of this state, and endeavor to secure and maintain an honest and efficient administration of the affairs of Birmingham, free from partisan distinction or control, and to perform the duties of office of Board of Review, alternate hearing officer, and Birmingham Shopping District Board to the best of my ability. I do.
I do.
Come on over and sign.
Congratulations again to all of you, and thank you for volunteering. All right, we now move to open to the public for matters not on the agenda. Anyone in the room or online would like to come and make a comment about something that's not on this evening's agenda, you're welcome to come to the microphone and state your name and address. I see none in the room. And I don't see any online. So, we will consider that closed, and we will move on to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and approved by a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of the items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered under the last item of new business. Do any commissioners wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Commissioner McLean.
Item B, please.
Item B. Any others? Anyone from the public like to remove the item from the consent agenda? I see none. So could we have a motion? Commissioner Boutros.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding item B.
All right. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Host. Ms. Bingham, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Host,
Yes.
Mayor Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Boutros.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McLean.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem McLean, would you like to address item B now?
Yes, it's just a correction or a clarification in the minutes on page 3, which is R5B. Paragraph 4, I was delighted, I'm still delighted by the appointment. But when I commented on the public, us communicating with the public, I think I said gov.com instead of GovAlert, which is the app that we want to send people to so that we can track the statistics.
All right. And
Hope you said that.
Yeah, I did. I went and watched it again. It was kind of messy, but I just want to clarify.
all right. And are you good with that correction, Ms. Bingham? Mm-hmm. All right. Would you like to move the motion then, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I move the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Baller. And Ms. Bingham, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McLean,
Yes.
Mayor Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Boutros.
Yes.
Commissioner Host.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item of business is unfinished business. We have none, so we move to new business. Our first item this evening, item A, is a public hearing to amend Chapter 86 Signs, Article 1, Table B, to permit projecting signs to be located somewhat differently than they are now, and I would like to open the public hearing and allow the staff presentation.
Hi, I'm Leah Blazinski, city planner. We're considering this in the planning division, a fairly simple ordinance amendment regarding projecting signs. Projecting signs are signs that extend beyond the building wall where the horizontal sign service is not parallel to the building wall. These signs are intended to be read by pedestrians from the sidewalk and are very limited in size and projection from the wall, and the current ordinance specifies that projection signs be located at the sign band and no less than 8 feet above grade. The sign band is defined as above all first floor windows and below the second story windows. So often on newer developments, the first story windows go up much higher than on older buildings. Therefore, on some newer buildings, the projecting signs are required to be placed much higher than is readable easily to a pedestrian on the sidewalk, somewhat defeating the purpose of the sign. So we're seeking a simple amendment to allow projecting signs to be placed no higher than the sign band and still above 8 feet.
All right. Any comments or questions from the public for?
Hi, my name is Chris Kajoyan. I'm a Birmingham resident at 311 East Frank Street, as well as one of the owners of 277 Pierce Street, the newly constructed building across the street, which kind of prompted this change. And I'm joined by one of our tenants, Mark Schechter. So the issue that we're having is in a new building, the code requires 70% of the retail facade to be glass. So that means the first floor of the building, which now the first floors are roughly 13 feet, opposed to older buildings where they might have been at 9 feet. So with that glass requirement, that pushes your brick and everything up higher, the sign band up higher, and makes it kind of awkward to put a sign 13 or 14 feet up on the building. So the current ordinance has prevented Schechter from getting their blade sign on the building. Their second floor office is a transactional space, so it technically is a retail space as far as the city is concerned. And we were required to find a retail user for that space. So they do have foot traffic. They have clients coming in off the street that need to be able to find the door. For them, it's especially tricky because they were located on the Pierce side. Now they're moved on the Merrill side of the building. So we just want to get them that signage so their clients can find the correct door. So we're just here tonight to support this motion, which, as the city staff mentioned, it's very simple and straightforward. So we're hopeful that you'll agree.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none in the room and none online, I will close the public hearing. Are there any questions of staff by any of the commissioners? Commissioner Baller.
Does the current rule, is it resulted in us not having these sorts of signs? And do we expect that by changing it, we're going to see a bunch of them? And I say that because I personally, it's just my opinion, think we need more of them. Because you can be walking down the sidewalk and not know what store you're passing, and you have to kind of sometimes look up, sometimes look at the window or the door to figure out what store you're in front of. So I just wonder if those two questions, if we have,
Sure.
don't have them because of the rule, and we will have more because we're changing it.
Sure. I don't know if I could say that it's resulted in us not having them. It's definitely resulted in more applications and in intentions of applying to the BZA to try to place these signs in the location that the applicants would like them to be, which is as close to 8 feet as they can be. We have many of them downtown that are located, just guessing, a lot of them between 8 and 10 feet, because there are a lot of older buildings. It's multiple new developments that have just started filling, have sought to place them where they felt was logical, and then found out that it would require an appeal to the BZA. So that's kind of what brought us here tonight. So I can't yet say whether they will place them anyways and just place them higher up, or if they just won't place them.
Okay.
That answers your question.
And just one other question, are we going to notify property and/or business owners that we've changed the rules so that if they want to, they know?
There are a few that are in regular contact with me that have been asking for updates, so I'm certainly going to communicate that to them. And then maybe Nick can speak to how the broader business community will be notified.
So typically, no, but the tools we have that I thought of when you asked the question are the newsletter, which we could certainly do, but more useful, I would say, is the BSD. The new director and I have been talking about getting like a one-pager for signage together for new tenants, because it's kind of confusing here, and they often do things that they didn't know they weren't allowed to do, so I think that would be another one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from the commission? All right, then we are ready to entertain a motion.
I'd like to move the motion adopting an ordinance to amend Chapter 86, Article 1, Table B, to add language to permit projecting signs to be located no higher than the sign band and no less than 8 feet above grade.
Second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ballard. All right, any comments from the public on the motion? I see none in the room. I see none online. Any comments from the commission on the motion?
I'd just like to make a comment on actually the sign that happened, the business establishment is in the room. It's a beautiful sign, and not that we're doing the ordinance for that specific establishment, it's more to benefit more other establishment. And as Commissioner Baller said, hopefully it'll set the trend to have that more of the standard in our downtown. And we thank you for what you do in our community.
All right, Ms. Bingham, would you please call the vote?
Mayor Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Vos,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Boudreaux.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, we move to new item B, new business B, which is the initial bistro screening for 2023. Mr. Dupuy.
All right, thank you very much. Not a lot of razzle-dazzle this year. This happens every fall. October 1 is the deadline for applications. This year we got one application, and in fact, it was actually for an existing restaurant, Birmingham Sushi Cafe, that recently lost their liquor license in 2021, although they've been around since 2012. So they, unfortunately, they have to go through the whole process again, based on the documents, which start on page 141 that they submitted to you. They did provide information, the four major points that they're required to provide. You'd note that really none of it changed besides ownership. The first point, the concept, it's still going to be the Birmingham Sushi Cafe. The menu's not going to change. The interior's not going to change. The second, the location, also not going to change, 377 Hamilton Row. The ownership did change, as I mentioned. It's now the Kim Pham Birmingham Sushi Incorporated. That, again, which is what initiated the liquor license issues in the past. And then the financial ability. They mentioned that they've been operating for a very long time now, and that a new liquor license costs $20,000, and that they're happy to provide the receipts to you, if you will, if you should require them. So at this point, you've got two options I provided for you in your sample motion language. One is to move forward the Birmingham Sushi Cafe to start the special land use process at the planning board and eventually circle back here for final approval, or take no action at this time. I'm available for questions, and the whole team's here if you want to hear a little bit more of the backstory. But that's it for me.
All right, Ms. Allen, you are welcome to make any presentation you'd like.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Commission. I'm Kelly Allen, appearing tonight on behalf of Birmingham Sushi. This is Brittany Kim. She is the owner of Kim Pham Birmingham Sushi, Inc. And what Nick said is accurate. They've been in there operating. They were operating under a management agreement since 2019. They did purchase the assets of the restaurant and were operating under the former owner's liquor license. They did have a dispute, and with regard to lease payments and insurance and things of that nature. And so therefore, the liquor license he wasn't going to transfer it to us. So they have to start over. And we placed, the license went into escrow, or actually got canceled in the summer of 2021. And the reason it was canceled was for lack of liquor liability insurance with the Liquor Commission. So they are applying again for a redevelopment license under the state law, meaning, as Nick said, it's a $20,000, actually $23,000 with the Sunday sales. They're qualified. Brittany's been working in the family business for a long time. The Kim family, if you ever go in there, you know all the Kims. They're Mike, her dad, and her mom is here. And they're looking forward to getting a full-service restaurant back and running soon.
All right, any questions for Ms. Allen or Ms. Kim? Okay, thank you. All right, what is the, Commissioner Boutros?
I just want to say, I really, I'm in full support of this, as this is an establishment that's been in our town for 14 plus years, and wonderful reputation, hard work from the family. I think just for the sake of explanation tonight, we're just moving this to the planning board by us approving it, and then it comes back to us for the full process of the bistro license. And I believe I see nothing wrong but to support this and give the family the chance to have their own liquor license as it support their business. Only being here for 14 years. We usually grant people also for 5 years of business here, and we encourage existing business to apply for bistro license. So I'm in full support of that, and I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution to direct the bistro application for Birmingham Sushi to the planning board for a SLUP permit, final site plan, and design review.
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner McLean. All right, any comments on the motion from the commission? Any comments on the motion from the public? I see none in the room and none online. Ms. Bingham, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McLean?
Yes.
Mayor Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Ballard?
Yes.
Commissioner Host?
Yes.
Commissioner Boudreaux?
Yes.
All right. Move forward, and thank you. All right, new item C is resolution to approve the recommended changes to the purchasing guidelines. And we have Mr. Gerber.
Good evening, Commissioners. As you know, in November, the voters approved a change to the charter amendment, which would increase the limit on when formal bids would need to be taken to $75,000 from $6,000. What I attempted to do was use our current purchasing guidelines, which had 3 levels of purchasing below 2,500, from 2,500 to 6,000, and then anything over 6,000, to expand that to 4 levels, which would be under 2,500, 2,500 to 25,000, and 25,000 to 75,000, and obviously anything over 75,000. With each level, there is increased amount of requirements that would be needed at each of these levels to ensure we're continuing to get competitive bidding as much as we can. And additionally, scrutiny by the city manager and the city attorney as needed at the 2,500 to 25,000 level, and from 25,000 to $75,000 level. Try to incorporate as much overview with the city manager as possible. Obviously, one of the things in the $2,500 to $25,000 level is that department heads could purchase something if it was something that was budgeted up to $10,000. Anything above $10,000 to $25,000 that was not budgeted would need city manager approval. Pretty much everything else, the 2,500 to 75,000, I'm sorry, 25,000 to 75,000 is pretty much almost what we do now, except there wouldn't be anything that would have to be formally put on mitten to get bids. We would still require to get 3 formal written bids when we did that particular level. It would have to be signed off by 4 the department heads, myself, city attorney, and city manager. Justifications, if there's any sole source purchasing, would need to be approved by the city manager. So I think what we have accomplished by doing this is to provide adequate control over purchasing at various levels within the city, and still provide the city commission with oversight, particularly in the $25,000 to $75,000 level, if it's, or anywhere really in here. Let me double check, make sure that I've got this right. If it's something in the $25,000 to $75,000 level that's not budgeted, or if it's an item that's over budget, that would be brought back to the city commission for approval. So I think by having that requirement in here, I think will satisfy a lot of your concerns on the city commission level about seeing things that maybe you weren't aware of that, you would be available to approve then. So I'm here to answer any questions you have related to it, and try to give you some comfort as much as I can on this guidelines.
Any questions for Finance Director Gerber? Commissioner Ballard?
Yeah, thank you very much for doing this. I'm just curious about the process that was used to do this. And I'm going to guess, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you did the red line and then maybe had some discussions
Yes.
with Mary and Tom, and they had some input, and is that how, and all 3 of you have reviewed it and are solid with it, right?
Yes, in addition to department heads as well. They had a chance to review it. The initial one that came back, there was an item about sole source purchasing that one department head had a question on, so I made sure that that was incorporated in here as well and made very clear how that would proceed.
Thank you.
Commissioner, Mayor Pro Tem McLean.
I would say thank you for clarifying that on these decisions, some of them have 4 signatures. There's a lot of collateral redundancy, so we are not going to have things slip through the cracks. As we have changes going forward, we have new staff, we'll have a new city manager. That's really important, so thank you.
All right. With no further questions, entertain a motion.
I'll move the suggested resolution.
Commissioner Bauer,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Host. Any questions on the motion from the commission? Any questions on the motion from the public? I see none in the room and none online. Ms. Bingham, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Boutros?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McLean?
Yes.
Mayor Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Baylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Thank you. The will of the public now implemented.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We now have commission items for future discussion. A motion is required to bring up an item for future discussion at the next reasonable agenda. No discussion on the topic will happen tonight. Any items? I see none. We move to new business E, commission discussion on items from a prior meeting. Rental rights, Commissioner Host, I believe this is step 2 in our 3-step process to hear your discussion about why this should become a regular agenda item. So Commissioner Host, the floor is yours.
I'll shoot.
Kazumi. It started with Dorothy Conrad, and as I mentioned, Diane Anderson on Southfield. The point is, we have a lot of people who rent here. In fact, we have a lot of single-family homes that are rented, and if you're a family to be lucky enough to rent one of our homes, it's a wonderful thing because you get the school system, you get all the amenities, and like Ann Arbor has just done on October 4th of this year, we should entertain renters' rights that allow renters who have paid their bills and are up to date to consider remaining versus the landlord's ability to evict them for no reason at all beforehand. This is just a human rights issue. And if you remember at our last meeting, Mary Kasarik and I think Tom even said they were already looking into it, because isn't it disgusting that we always have to point to other cities that have done great things and we don't even have them on the table? Ferndale would be another one.
All right. And Commissioner Host, although you mentioned single-family homes, I would assume, Ms. Kucharik, that any ordinances we entertain would apply uniformly to multifamily residences and apartments, as well as any renter in any type of dwelling in the city would be covered.
Yes.
Okay, so any other discussion by the commission? I know that it is true that we are already looking at this, that our newly elected Oakland County Commissioner Charlie Cavell provided sample ordinance language on a number of items that the city manager's already directed Ms. Kucharik to begin reviewing. So is there a will of the commission to bring this forward as a regular agenda item whenever the city is ready to present?
Yes.
Yes? Second?
I just want to make sure, Madam Mayor, that our city manager have directions, or city attorney, to what are we directing tonight? Like, what is the ask?
I believe the ask would be to bring it back for discussion as a regular agenda item as.
What, if
What
needed?
we'll be bringing back is some suggested first off, a clarification of the laws to determine if and what we can do.
Okay.
And then we will likely suggest some suggested legislation for you to consider.
Thank you.
So do we even, given that they're already working on it? do we
I think,
need to
I don't,
We don't need any to,
well,
Okay.
you don't, but I don't think redundancy is a bad idea.
Right.
Especially because in reading one of the local newspapers, they're advocating that we move into this area, and I think the affirmation of the commission, even though we've already started it, is not a bad idea.
All right, so would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Bowler?
sure.
Or Commissioner Host?
I thought Mayor Pro Tem made the motion.
Oh, no, I just said
was just
yes.
going to second it.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Sorry, I shortened it. Yes, I'd
So-
like to make the motion.
To bring the subject of rental rights
Absolutely,
as a regular agenda item at a future meeting.
with the research and recommendation from the
So
staff.
we have a motion, we have a second. Any comment on the motion? Any comment in the room or online? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right. Move to, remove from consent agenda, we have none. Communications, we have a communication from a resident who's in favor of sidewalks on Fairway Drive, which is in our packets. And then we move to commissioner reports. And Mayor Pro Tem McLean is going to discuss Civility Day 2020.
I am, thank you. On October 25th, I mentioned this last month, I attended the Civility Project inaugural day at Oakland University. It certainly was timely because, of course, elections were right around the corner. In our packet, we have some information. It basically was a discussion focused on political differences. And for those of the public that don't know, this is a nonpartisan commission. But the same principles can be applied here. And some of the things that they highlighted were that it's important to have respectful, productive conversations with those of opposing viewpoints. And the importance of showing respect and building relationships is a starting point, because not only do people believe differently, sometimes they feel differently, and sometimes they passionately feel differently, and that can get us off track in terms of agreement and give and take. At the end, one of the university, Wayne State University Center for Peace and Conflict Studies lawyer, Abed Hamoud, who was very impressive, said that, there are many reasons why politics makes people mad, ranging from the spread of misinformation and lack of civic literacy, to just basic human nature. So there's a very large spectrum here. One of the things they talked about is getting to know the person that you disagree with, employing active listening, set honest goals to have a conversation, keep an open attitude. Basically, we all want the same things. We all want progress. We want teamwork, and to continue the conversation even when we disagree. In the MML review, there was a large article, which I think the city manager shared with us before, about what is happening in terms of civil discourse, civil or uncivil discourse with staff and our staff, and Mr. Marcus has shared that with us. And the observation was made that overall it has become mainstream, I'm quoting now, it has become mainstream for people to try and tear down institutions. They're nameless and faceless in many cases. And you can see that rhetoric at the state level now, not just on a national level. And when it trickles down, it interferes with the ability to have real conversations and make progress. So just a reminder. And then at the end, they suggested that if we were at all interested in doing a workshop, or anyone could sign up to do a workshop, or a workshop for us would be before our meeting, but any sort of meeting where we share and work on those issues. And I think that's something we should think about in the future.
Thank you. Commissioner Host, we asked you to delay your report on the MML conference.
You want to delay it again?
No,
Oh,
if you're, no, I
okay.
said, we had asked you at the last meeting due to the lateness of the hour, so if you are ready, we are
Okay,
ready.
you know, I'm only going to talk about three things at the annual meeting in Muskegon. The first one is kind of piggybacking on Mayor Pro Tem's civility. I went to a session that was titled Working Together for the Good of the Community. And the only thing I wanted to add is that that can be challenging. And the biggest problem is trust. And what I learned at that session was politicians tend to lie. So it's hard to trust them. And that is one of the hurdles that, prohibit better behavior. Secondly, I went to a session called Investing in Energy Infrastructure. And the real kicker, there was an Edison guy and a consumer energy and an MMO guy. The real kicker is the Biden administration is incentivizing energy savings. And if, for example, the city of Birmingham wanted to put $100,000 worth of solar panels on the slate up here, the government will send us a $30,000 check within 4 months as a rebate. The point being, they're really trying to push energy savings. And then my second one is kind of goes with this, is investing in the energy infrastructure. And I want to start by saying I visited 2 homeowners here in Birmingham. We have a gentleman named Tobias Grossman who lives at 1648 Dorchester, who has a 100% geothermal home. The contractor is Haley Mechanical out of Dexter, and it's absolutely fascinating what this house has. It's a normal colonial, and yet you can monitor everything from your phone everywhere on the property, including the garage. It's comprehensively amazing, and it's, to my knowledge, maybe the only geothermal home that is fully operating right now. The second would be Harvey and Kay Bell at 820 Pleasant Street, who are beyond zero energy. They're not quite done with the house. And just kind of an aside on both of these cases, Detroit Edison's kind of scratching their head. What do we do now? Now, in both cases, these homeowners have extolled the city of Birmingham inspectors for being so open, and, everybody's learning on this, but they've been very supportive of these 2 families, and I assume we will be supportive of more of them. Which brings me to the biggest event for me, which was listening to a Julie Lyons Bricker, who's the grant writer for Royal Oak, and now we're into sustainability. As Commissioner Schaefer has mentioned, what Royal Oak has done, the presentation was incredible. What they've done in 3 years is amazing, and then even more amazing is that Royal Oak is willing to help us. And Leah and Nick and Jana and Melissa, I believe, went down there and sat down with her and got all the materials, which she gave to me. And I don't know what you're doing with them, other than I hope you certainly get it on the agenda and get it in our packets for the commission to see. The key to why Royal Oak's done such a great job, they codified everything in May, by the way, was the leadership engagement. Namely, this young lady said that she's got a couple of shakers who have really helped move this that are residents of Royal Oak. And I hope we will be in the same league of trying to do catch-up. The whole presentation was outstanding, and I look forward to hearing from the staff. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Host. All right, we now move to commissioner comments. Do we have any commissioner comments this evening? Commissioner Host.
In fact, I'm going to take my mask off for this one. Hey, I hope everybody read the city manager's monthly report. Per usual, it's very comprehensive and very good. I'm mentioned in it, and that's what I'm going to talk about. And so the point being, it's my turn to set the record straight. If you look at the 2016 master plan and the actions of the commissions that operated under that master plan, most everything pro-offered was approved. In fact, all you have to do is watch the videos of the meetings, and the then planning department director would emphasize the plan calls for this or that, and most of it has been adopted. As background, tonight, our planning board met in January of 2020 to review the first draft of the 2040 master plan. And if my numbers are off by one or two people, leave me alone. 177 people showed up at that January meeting. 2 people spoke in favor of the seams. 23 people spoke no seams. And you can conclude that the other 150 were no seams. Amazingly enough, the meeting the next month review, 188 people showed up. And everyone said, don't rezone single-family homes to multiples. Here we are in the third draft, and there's 6 seams left, approximately 100 homes. DPZ planners, the planning board, and the city consistently are asking us for feedback, and yet it's either downplayed or, even worse, ignored. I represent the single-family homeowners, the renters, the residents of our town, the people who sleep here. And what I just mentioned was the overwhelming majority of the taxpayers. We want to live here and we want to die here. We're willing to pay these high taxes for the privilege of living here, and thus far, we haven't asked for very much in return. DPZ, the planning board, and the city don't get it. All they see are dollar signs and commercial development opportunities. We need to be clear. Let's not pretend that this master plan results in future land use documents which will not lead to rezoning. There's no need to pretend anything. The seams are targets for rezoning. It's that simple. This isn't a game or pretend anything, though I'm going to ask you to pretend we're going to have frog legs. It's a one-step process with a frog if you just boil it. But if you want, you can do a 2-step process, which is you put them in the water and then you lull them to inaction, and then your second step is to boil them. And I give you that analogy to say this is true for lulling the residents into not realizing what's happening with the 2040 master plan. The master plan does not use the word rezoning. but this is a distinction of no difference. No one has called for rezoning except these planners. I understand some of my fellow commissioners may really like this plan in general. That's great. But I remind you that the changes in the neighborhood, as proposed in the seams, were never asked for by the residents of our town, the people who sleep here. I invite my fellow commissioners to refresh their memories as to whom they represent. Thank you.
Do we have any other commissioner comment this evening? Commissioner McLean.
Well, because I knew we'd be talking about this, I pulled out the 2040 plan, of which we all have a copy. I'm a new commissioner, so I read it periodically to make sure that I'm reading for content and follow the changes. And I would say, you and I have known each other a long time. Under no circumstance would I support something perpetrating a fraud upon other neighbors and residents. I've lived here my whole life. I don't consider this to be a misrepresentation of what's happening. I don't, and I'm not at all aware that there's a secret plan to make some of these things happen by 2023. But if there is, we're going to talk about it at this table because we all are responsible, along with the planning board and others, for making this happen. This is one of the strategic goals that we all agreed on a month ago. So we may disagree about that, but I don't believe that by analyzing this and talking about it, that I am furthering some kind of unspoken secret plan. I would not do that, and I will not do that. And I'm open to learning more about the process, which I think we will be doing at this table.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem McLean. Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Voller.
We all represent the residents of this town. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Looks like that concludes commissioner comments. We move to advisory boards, committees, commissioner reports, and agendas, legislation, city staff, and we have the city manager's report this evening.
And because of the early conclusion of the agenda, I get to go through things more thoroughly this evening.
Take your time.
So, with the library board, they have finally selected a construction manager to manage the services of the Phase 3 expansion of the library. And that will be before you at our next meeting, which is next Monday, the 5th. Our Natural World art exhibit, the library will be unveiling a new collaborative art project featuring paintings by K through 12 students in Bloomfield Hills and Birmingham Public Schools. The plan has been coordinated by residents David Bloom, Barbara Heller, and Brad's better half, Laura Host. The musical performance there is a musical performance scheduled at the Baldwin. It'll host a musical duo performing feature violinist Andrew Wu. I don't know who the other half of the duo is, that's not mentioned. The long-awaited grave marker installation for George and Eliza Taylor at Greenwood Cemetery is in motion and planned for the spring of 2023. The marker will help visitors locate the Taylor's final resting place and will have the inscription, "Born into slavery, died free in Birmingham."
Oof, nice.
The Exploring Podcast. The museum will be exploring the possibility of doing regular podcast featuring Birmingham history themes in an ongoing episodic serial format. And I just want to mention that Leslie Pilak is well suited to organize those podcasts. She's an author in her own right. She wrote the book Saginaw Trail, which, for those that know, that is the precursor to Woodward Avenue. City Clerk's office is thanking all of the election inspectors and city staff that helped conduct a safe and successful November 8th state general election. more than 66% of Birmingham's registered voters participated, exceeding the Oakland County turnout average of 60.75%. I personally want to acknowledge Alex and the clerk's department. You know, the run-up to this election was fraught with all sorts of concerns and anxiety, and I think the clerk's office has delivered as well as they possibly could on this election and the handling of it and the communication with our public during the whole process. And part of that is really organizing a lot of volunteers. And that was done with great success. So congratulations to Alex and the staff of the clerk's office.
You're here.
Yeah.
You deserve applause.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And a little more from the clerk's office. We celebrated the one-year anniversary of our deputy city clerk, Christina Woods. Christina has been an incredible addition to the city clerk's office. She came to us with previous clerk-type experience, and we're glad she's made it through a year. You know, we had a bit of turnover in the clerk's office on a repetitive basis, so it's nice to see some stability being achieved there. And we'd also like to thank an intern that was assigned to the clerk's office, Brendan Folk. You might have seen him around. He was a great assistance in his time assisting with and preparing for the November election. And you can read a little bit more about that. I'm still trying to hit all your highlights. Under the city manager's office report, welcome packets and video, the communications team is now mailing welcome packets to all new residents. The packet includes a welcome letter, city calendar, the Birmingham Pete newsletter, recycling pamphlet, stay in touch postcard, golf pamphlet, yard waste sticker, Baldwin Public Library brochure, and more. South Old Woodward Project, we'd like to thank Jamil Kim and Erica Bassett for all their work in getting out all of the information and even a wrap-up video on the South Old Woodward Project. I really had a chance to look at it. By the numbers, we sent out 70,590 text messages, updates, and 65 e-blasts in addition to print articles and social media messaging. So, despite litigation, I think most people would agree that we had good communication along that project, and we still have some details that they're working through to finish that project. In Human Resources Department is currently reviewing applicants for the vacancy of the Director of Public Services. We hope to schedule the interviews in December. And we're also collecting applications for police officer and firefighters. And those of you that have been around a while may know of Bridget Moran. She works in the building planning department and has committed to retirement in February after 21 years of service to the city. And Heather Tolliver has been promoted into Bridget's role and has been training under her to plan for that transition. And then we have a personnel summary that we typically do through all of that. Brad already introduced this item in the manager's report, but I'd like to comment on it as well. We have observed a renewed vigor regarding the Birmingham Plan 2040 and its neighborhood seams concept across social media that has involved residents and a current city commissioner. Within the posts and ensuing conversation, there have been a continued assertion or idea that the 2040 plan will be rezoning single-family homes to build multifamily, and that somehow the city of Birmingham is ignoring its residents in favor of developers and profit. Part of this is not only the messaging that's gone out, but the reaction. And when it gets into the social media, a lot of times there's a free flow of conversation that sometimes isn't based on fact. This was the subject of two recent videos that Commissioner Host posted on social media. One on Oakland Avenue, in which he stated these 5 homes, as well as the 2 lots near Woodward, are going to be rezoned to multiple. And the other in Poppleton Park neighborhood, in which he states, in the proposed 2040 plan, they are going to rezone these 2 houses on Poppleton and turn them into multiples. and that you have time to tell the master planners and planning board what you think about this rezoning proposal. It is important that we as city staff, boards, and commissioners are factually accurate when discussing the master plan and how it applies to land use. The city has reiterated that comprehensive master plans do not rezone property once adopted. We have an excerpt that I've attached in terms of the press release from February 11th, 2021, and another excerpt from the FAQ distributed February 10, 2021, and October 13, 2021. Is the master plan rezoning the city? I'll read it to you. No, the master plan will include a future land use map, but not a new zoning map. The master plan recommends that the city study and revise its current zoning code, but does not establish any updated zoning. The master plan recommends that zoning be updated for two primary purposes: to simplify but not substantially change zoning in the downtown and Triangle District, and two, to better align neighborhood zoning with existing character to avoid new houses that are out of character. Other zoning changes are recommended for further study by the city. The words rezone or rezoning do not exist within the 2040 plan document nor the Michigan Planning Enabling Act that regulates comprehensive master planning in Michigan. A comprehensive master plan is a document designed to guide the future actions of a community. It presents a vision of the future, which long-range goals and objectives for all activities that affect the local government. One might say, however, and correctly so, that a comprehensive master plan informs future zoning. I agree with that. In the spirit of guiding future actions and informing zoning, a future land use map is created, which is contained across pages 8 and 9 of the current draft of the 2040 plan. A future land use plan is legally required to be included in the 2040 plan by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. So we talk about SEAMs. I'll continue on here. The current composition of SEAMs and the number of areas proposed for SEAMs has changed dramatically since their inception in the first draft of the 2040 plan. These changes are directly and unequivocally due to the feedback that Birmingham residents provided to the city. The planning board, city commission, consultant team, city staff worked tirelessly over 4+ years to work the input of residents into the 2040 plan, and to state otherwise would be inappropriate and unfair to those who have spent so much time working on the master plan, especially our planning board and city staff. As demonstrated in the attached map, which is a click-on for you, the SEAM concept in the future land use map affects roughly 106 residentially zoned parcels in the city, 28 of which are already developed as multiple family or commercial. Over roughly 78 single-family properties are being considered for exploration in locating multifamily units such as townhomes, cottage courts, and small multifamily buildings. Finally, it is immensely important not to lose sight why the SEAMS concept and the accompanying hyper-specific multiple family housing types are planned in the first place. Again, we turn to the Michigan Enabling Act, and there's a quote in there from that talks about the requirements and what is guiding the master plan. Finally, I would say that I would caution the city commission, and in particular, I referenced Commissioner Host doing some videos encouraging people to attend and stating that properties are going to be rezoned. It would seem to me that the final arbiter, the final decision maker on the master plan is this very body. And for us to, as commissioners, to be out stating positions about what is or isn't in this plan before they actually receive it kind of jumpstarts this whole process. The process, we've sent out numerous notices to the public to invite them to participate. Numerous notices, and the public is encouraged to come in. I don't think we need to be spelling out what we individually do or don't like as commissioners or commission singular. It seems to me that we have an obligation to let the process work. And I think I would caution all of you, and I would caution you, Mr. Host, that you need to be careful about what you say is or isn't in that plan. And to suggest that it is going to rezone property when the plan hasn't even been considered by the commission and decided what's going to be in the plan is really, I think, trying to shape it from the commissioner's chair. And to me, I think the role of the commission is to let the public process work and then invite the process to the table where you'll have public hearings. The notices, the hearings will be noticed, and you will have the public here, and the public can explain what they think about it to you. And then you can deliberate amongst the full commission as to what's going to be in that plan. Those are my comments about that issue. Next is the 48th District Court. On November 14th, the City Commission workshop was conducted on the topic of the 48th District Court. You heard some comments from Judge Barron. We have described our attempts to meet with the court and to discuss these issues. You can see that the meeting was canceled very late. In fact, we were already en route to the meeting. We attempted to hold the meeting, according to the staff. The information was not forthcoming. I have shared all of the questions that we posed to the 48th District Court. We're hoping to get the answers to those this week. We're also going to be discussing with the court their budget. They've asked to place the budget on your next meeting. I'm okay with putting it on your next meeting, but my thought at this time is, unless I hear contrary to the commission, is to leave the determination on whether you're going to approve it or not for the meeting on the 19th. My point in doing that is, you have time to do that before the end of the year, and you're gonna have, I presume, some questions. The budget is vague, okay? It's not the kind of detail that you would expect to get from us. And I think that there's going to be questions from the commission. So my thought is, give the court an opportunity to come over and present their budget, evaluate it, determine if you have any questions, gives them time. Apparently they need time to answer these questions. Even though we've posed these questions that you have in the packet sooner or earlier. Gives them time, and then we'll put it back on the 19th for actual consideration by the commission. Unless I hear to the contrary. That's kind of the plan at this point. Under trail improvements, the Department of Public Services, and I wanted to point this out. I understand, Commissioner Host, you've done a video on the issue of putting improvements in parks.
Definitely.
Kiosks and
Yes.
other things.
Yeah, commercial facades.
Okay, and you included in that Corton Lake.
Yes.
Okay, you understand that there's a specific exclusion to those in Corton Lake?
No, I did not.
I'll address that later. The trail improvements do include a Booth Park corner feature, which has been talked about for years. I understand that some neighbors take great offense to that, but I would say to you that you have a porta-john in that facility right now that certainly is not an attractive feature, and I think a permanent facility could be. It's in the description of that park, it is considered to be a regional draw. There's no question about that. And whether it was described that way or not, that park is a regional draw. Children have communicated with children way beyond our borders, and those children are attending that park on a regular basis.
Do you mean Booth Park?
Booth Park.
Booth Park.
Booth Park. And I remember being a part of the community build, okay? We were financial supporters of that. Some grandchildren's names are on the wall. And I remember swinging a hammer and a saw and everything else and building that. And knew when we were building that, which was a community build project, okay? Community build. We knew that this was going to be a draw, and it's lived up to that reputation. You can't keep kids away from that park. And in my opinion, we don't have enough restrooms in our parks around this city.
Oh, yeah.
As an avid walker, I can tell you that. So I make those comments. The fall planting project, this year's upcoming fall planting project consists of 144 trees along the city streets and parks and will be performed by KLM Landscape. Those have already started going in. You'll probably notice some around town. The yard waste collection ends December 16th. The collection of leaves on the curb streets ends December 2nd for both zones 1 and 2. So that's coming to an end very quickly. South Old Woodward reconstruction is closed with the exception, as I noted earlier, some punch list items. And the water service verification program is continuing. Under finance, I want to congratulate Mark Gerber and the finance department. Once again, they have received the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award and the Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting Award from the Government Finance Officers Association. And this is worthy of notation, but it's worthy of notation every year. You've received this award for probably, I would guess it's approaching 30 years. It goes back to my previous service here as well, so it's something I've always encouraged. It's a bar that we want to achieve, and it keeps, we get a lot of feedback from other municipalities about our documentation as a part of the review process. So that helps us keep evolving the budget and the report. We'd like to welcome a new firefighter, Steve McInerney. He's originally from Michigan, but was serving on the fire department down in Myrtle Beach. Steve brings a positive energy to the department along with a wealth of knowledge he has compiled over the years of his firefighting career. And we welcome him and look forward to working with him and learning from him as well as he adapts to this new environment. Under historic preservation, I wanted to comment that the HDSC, the Historic District Study Committee, will begin to steward the historic designation request for 1283 Buckingham through the formal designation process. Meanwhile, the city continues to field many questions regarding historic designation and hopes to receive several more requests in the coming months. Under sustainability, the city's informal and growing sustainability team recently met with key members of Royal Oak sustainability staff, thanks to a chance encounter with Commissioner Katie Schaefer. And the city plans to work with Royal Oak and many other catalyst communities to further the sustainability goals of Birmingham as well as the greater region. The Planning Division would also like to highlight the South Old Wood reconstruction and the Rain Garden Bioswale project that were installed to help mitigate the effects of stormwater runoff into the area. And under suspected arrested following a shooting, we do have incidents in this community that create quite a bit of concern in this community. The one thing I'll tell you about Birmingham's police department, they have a very good record of clearing cases, an impressive record in my opinion. And This is an example. On Sunday, October 30th, a shooting occurred on South Old Woodard near Brown Street. No one was injured in the shooting. All parties involved fled the scene prior to officers arriving. The case was turned over to the Investigation Division for follow-up. Detectives were able to work the case and develop a suspect. Working in cooperation with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the police department arrested Dario Devon Stovall, 27 years of age, Shelby Township, for assault with a dangerous weapon. Mr. Stovall was charged by the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office and was arraigned on the charge. Construction. On the North Old Woodward parking structure was completed in late October. This was for the decks, the ceilings, the floors, the walls, so forth. We still have a lot of additional work. And with that, WJE, you'll recall, was awarded the project for the 5 city parking structures. We approved that on November 14th. The proposal is part of a larger 5-year repair project that not only continues the ongoing concrete restoration and repair, but includes mechanical, electrical, and plumbing of the garages. This will include ceiling surface treatment in some of them, LED lights, construction bidding, stairways and railings, and all sorts of other things that need to be updated. And finally, I would report, and I think most of you already know this, but for public's edification, we have assigned the lease to Select Commercial Assets, and all parties have signed that lease, so that lease now has leased the property referred to as the parking lot next to the Hunter House. So that's been accomplished and has moved forward. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Host?
Mr. Marcus, you mentioned Booth Park. Are we aware of the agreement that we have with the Booth family? The point is, the moment it doesn't remain a park, it's changed in any way, it reverts back to the family. This is what I'm told. I haven't seen the actual document. Are you aware of that?
We'll take a look at it.
Okay. The same way, I'm not aware that you're saying at Corton Lake, there's something that won't allow a commercial endeavor there?
No, the plan talks about some facilities in various parks, but I believe it excludes the Corton Lake. Maybe.
No, it doesn't. It's in there.
Do you want?
Somebody noted that to me earlier today. Was that you?
Not today.
May I?
Earlier on.
Go ahead.
It was just that there's a chapter on neighborhood destinations, which includes commercial destinations, and that the mapping in the third draft is inconsistent.
Oh.
The main map shows it not in Corton Lake anymore, the main feature land use map, but there are some inconsistencies throughout the chapters that do show it in Corton Lake, so we've asked them to remedy that.
Excellent.
Cool.
Thank you.
And I don't think there's anybody is considering not having Booth Park remaining a park. It's just adding the plan, which is from 2007, I believe, the trail plan, and the Booth Park master plan that was developed when I was on the Parks and Recreation Board prior to the build, anticipated that someday we would have a corner feature, some seating, a restroom, and perhaps a gazebo. None of those are commercial uses. It's just more amenities.
Yeah, and I, rather than get into a long
Right.
discussion, we'll pull up the actual documents, because those are what determine what that commercial feature might be that I think Commissioner Host is referring to. You have to look at the specific language to make those determinations.
All right. Well, that is the end of our agenda. So if there's nothing further, we are adjourned.